The Last of Us Part 2 is the continuation of The Last of Us, of course, and this will be a very special review from this game because guess what, I haven't played it. I have just seen the complete walkthrough on YouTube, and I will now actually make a review of the game based on the visuals, based on the story, and well, that's what I'm gonna review here. I cannot review the actual gameplay because I have not played the game, but I do feel for the first time in maybe my whole life actually that I have seen enough of this game to know what I think of it. And one of the reasons why I will make this review without having played the game is simply because The Last of Us Part 2 feels more like a movie to me than it does to a game. If you look on YouTube, for instance, and you want to see all the cutscenes from The Last of Us Part 2, I am pretty sure that almost 50% of the game is cutscenes. And that basically means that, yeah, to me, The Last of Us Part 2 is just as much a movie, you could say an animated movie, but a very realistic looking movie, just as much as it is a game. So there you have the reasons for why I feel I can make this review. And now I'll start it. Controversial or not, but The Last of Us Part 2 is not a game that I would have played myself. I would have not enjoyed it. And that I can see from the gameplay, but also because of the story and the way this game is heading from the last game, because I loved the first game. It had a great depth and a beautiful relationship between a father and a daughter, even though Ellie never was Joel's daughter, but still it moved me really much, and I was excited to see the continuation, but as we all know, this game has I won't spoil anything. I'll try to not spoil anything, but let's just say that this game is making some unpredictable and surprising turns and twists to the the story that many people, including myself, hate. And yeah, I dislike very much what happens to some characters. And I do also dislike the fact that you have to play as a character that I do not want to play as. It pretty much feels like I'm playing as the enemy, even though they are trying to, during the story, tell flashbacks from the past that are explaining why the characters are doing what they are doing, and so on and so on. But still, it doesn't feel so good, and that is mainly because that they are showing us part of the end before they are showing us the start of the game. That was maybe not so good explained, but I'll try to explain this in another way. The game should have been told chronologically from the start to finish. That's how I wanted it. That's how mainly the last game was played out as. And that's how I feel that The Last of Us Part 2 would have worked better. But in this game they are showing us things very early in the game that later on you will realize actually happened in the later half of the game. But because of all the flashbacks and all the jumping back and forth, the story becomes a bit confusing. Well, okay, maybe not confusing, but I still feel that it should have been set chronologically. That would have made some events more impactful on me. So a bit disappointed in that. But I must give a big credit for the amazing graphics that they have made in this game. It is probably the best game I have seen when it comes to the graphic department. It looks almost like real life, you know. The face expressions, unfortunately the violence, which I personally dislike. But I feel like I can't criticize The Last of Us Part 2 for being violent, because that's what you get from this game, and that's what you should expect when buying an 18+ horror game like this. Because The Last of Us Part 2 is even more gruesome than its predecessor. The violence is really, really gory, and it's disturbing at sometimes, I must say. Since the graphics are so realistic as they are, it looks even more, horrible to watch. It would have been different if it was a Mario graphic, of course. So but that's what the game wants to do. So I can't, criticize the game for that. But personally, I didn't enjoy watching all this violence going on when I watched the walkthrough. I also want to point out that the characters are not so interesting in this game as they were in the last one. There are maybe more character development in this game, but for some reason it feels like the story is losing some of its originality, because except for the fact that you are not a big spoiler, you are playing as Ellie, and she is a woman. It still doesn't feel so original when it comes to how the characters act and how they behave in some manners. And you still have this typical good humans versus bad humans, and the zombies or the monsters are still bad as always. But I feel that personally I wanted The Last of Us to be a story about how are the humans going to counter or survive against these monsters and zombies. That's the main story for me about The Last of Us. There's been a huge outbreak and a virus or whatever. And Ellie is, as we know from the previous game, she is immune. That's what they should continue the story about, That's what I want to see. How are they gonna continue this story onwards? But instead you get all these personal conflicts between humans, which I could get from, many other soap operas and so on. And then you have so many bad humans that are seemingly not only killing off the zombies, but killing off other humans. And I don't really see why. Why are they so bad? It's probably, the easy concept of humans have to survive. You have to survive in this world and all that. But still, there is a zombie outbreak here. I like to call them zombies, and that's what the story should focus on. And you want to see, I want to see a chronological set story that continues the story from where it's set off from the last game. But here it doesn't. So, I'm a bit disappointed with the story. But I must say that I will give credit for the makers that they dare to do what they did in this game. They have really done controversial stuff, and they have really set the bar high for, I think, the next game. Now they have to raise the bar. There are a lot of haters out there, but there are also people that love this story. Maybe they are loving, the fact that it's so unpredictable and all that stuff. You could relate to Game of Thrones if you have seen that one, and a series on HBO, which also was very unpredictable. But personally, if I have to be subjective, I think, or whatever, a personal review, I'll only give this a 5 out of 10. I won't play it, and remember, this review is based mainly on watching a complete walkthrough of the game, where I am reviewing the graphics, which are amazing. They are 10 of 10, of course. But then also the story, which is for me 2 out of 10 or something. And therefore I'll only give it a 5 out of 10. I also have to say that this is something I heard from someone else as well that I can relate to. The first game had light, it had hope, it had beautiful scenes that made us fall in love with the relationship between Joel and Ellie. But this game feels so dark, and it has way too few light elements where you can see the beauty of the nature and that there is still hope and all that. I can't remember a single scene actually. Maybe the last part of the game. Well, of course, and there are some nice flashbacks. I have to say that a lot of the flashbacks are beautiful, but they still feel like you should have them in the correct order, personally. So yeah, it's a dark and gritty game. It's much darker than the last game, and if you love zombie horror games, I'm pretty sure you'll like this one. Well, if you want a story that is nice and maybe a better story, then good luck finding a game that gives you that. I don't think this game doesn't for me give me the story that I was hoping. At the same time, I do know that they can do whatever they want when making this game. I know that, but still, it's it wasn't the story I wanted. So I don't care what people say. I'm gonna be one of the haters, unfortunately. But I do respect they do what they want, and I hope that they will follow their own thoughts. Don't listen to anyone else when they are making the third game. I really hope there will be The Last of Us 3 in maybe 1 year or 2, maybe some months. Just kidding. It's probably gonna take 5 years minimum. But they should really just do what they want to do. Don't listen to anyone else. And if they are gonna make a new game with the ending starting at the start of the game and flashbacks and all that kind of stuff, well, that's their choice. So yeah, I'm just gonna finish now. 5 out of 10, and if I had a dice, which we use in Norway sometimes to rate stuff, I'd give it 3 out of 6, based on my enjoyment.